In the stock car racing calendar. Tonight sees the 35th staging of the Formula One Stock Car World Championship event, and drivers from all over Europe and indeed from the other side of the world are here tonight, ready to do battle for the gold roof that goes with the title of Formula One Stock Car World Champion. Before we get to that World Championship event, we have two warm-up races just to get the very enthusiastic and large crowd in the mood, and all the drivers who failed along the route to the World Final, or at least a lot of them, will be out in those opening heats. Alongside me is Martin Clark, and Martin will be giving us the benefit of his experience on the views of some of the drivers' chances tonight. Martin will be talking about the World Final a little later on, but there are a couple of star men who didn't make it through to the World Final, stuck at the back of the grid, ready to go for Heat 1.
Yeah, Rob must be in with a bit of a chance. I think Rob Pearce fancied his chance a little bit for the world title this year, Dave, but it didn't quite happen. But I think he'll be out to impress tonight. Graham as well. You know, Graham's had one or two problems with his car and his transporter, so I think they're both going to be a little bit sick that they're not in for the big one tonight. So maybe we'll see some fireworks from them in Heat 1. But with the big field again here, it could be anybody's race.
Well, the track does look a little bit wet, but I can assure you we've had no rain. In fact, the water tanker has been round in the last 20 minutes or so just to make sure there are no dust problems, and that is a benefit to our cameramen out there around the track. Hopefully there will be no dust. Those are the white tops, the lowest point scorers, leading them off on the rolling lap for the opening race on World Final night. And the tension begins to build up as we go through to that World Final race during these opening two events. Graham France just rolling through there in 2:16. He started on pole position in the World Final last year, but didn't quite make it through in the ensuing race. And further on down the grid, the blue top drivers there. One or two drivers will be out in strange cars tonight, people borrowing cars and such, cars that we're not used to seeing them at the wheel of. And the immaculate setting of Belle Vue Stadium.
Brian Branson there looked a bit eager there, Dave. He was trying to jump the gun a little bit there. I think it'll be with all the whites and yellows in this, I think you'll see a hectic first two laps.
And there's just some of the crowd straining to get a view of the cars. A very big crowd here tonight. Those are the lead cars, and you can see they're just beginning to inch forward a little quicker because they're under starters' orders. Mr. Starter on the rostrum is Brian Beats. And there he is, waving the green flag. The World Championship meeting gets underway, and this is the first heat of the night. Away they go, down into the first turn. A lot of cars, over 100 cars are expected to race here tonight. And that means we're going to have around 30 of them on track in this opening race. So it's going to be hard work to get through that pack. And that's one of the yellow tops in trouble. That looks like the lead cars coming through down the home straight, the low graders at the front. And it's Jeff Wilkinson who has the lead. And there's a problem for the 195 car, Tony Smith. Tony parked up there, looks as though he's blown a tyre as well, so I think he'll be out of the race. That's Andy Shaw going through nicely, 3:47. One of the yellows, and Tony Smith rolls away out of the middle. The first casualty on World Championship night. So the lead car's heading down to the bottom turn there, and there's Keith Riley, 3:23, blue top driver in trouble. And alongside him, I think that was Phil Haight, possibly in 4:54.
As you've seen for the first couple of laps, Dave, with the track being watered as well, there's been one or two little problems for the lads as they're coming through on the packed field. I know we can't see it on screen yet, but Jeff Wilkinson looks to be well away in 1:48. I believe, I could be wrong, but he's just gone through there. He's had one or two good results at Belle Vue this year, one of the few stadiums he does race at.
So it looks as though it is Jeff Wilkinson in the lead in 1:48, with possibly Alan Wilson behind him in second place in 13. And there they are coming through, and those some of the others trying to push their way through. Keith Riley, we saw him go out earlier on in 3:23. Down the home straight, and Keith Riley's going to have to work hard now to try and get back up the places. And it looks as though the track has been rather more heavily watered than we thought, because recognising some of the cars is proving a difficult job. That's blue top on the middle there. I think that's Graham France, 2:16, who's rolled out of the race. That's 1:59. I think that is John Sage. He's also out of the race. And that looks like the top two, I think, going down that straight. But Alan Alan Wilson has got a car tangled onto the back end of him. That's Wilson in number 13, who was running second last time we looked at the leaders. There's a blue top diving through on the inside and going very nicely.
That's Brian Branson. He was very eager at the start. It looks like he's through to second place, Dave.
So there's Branson going through, and Branson's had one or two good results here at Belle Vue. That's Alan Wilson, and it looks as though he's got a flat tyre there, number 13, so he's going out of the running. There's Rob Pearce, one of the star men we saw before the race started, 175, trying to work his way up the field. Chasing down the home straight. And it looks as though the traffic has thinned out considerably, several cars on the middle.
Your third car, man, you're still Jeff Wilkinson there, Dave, and he's still going quite well, but Graham Lunds up to third, actually, I believe, with Brian Branson in second. So the closing stages, we should see Brian Branson's closing the gap now considerably, but you should see a challenge from Graham soon.
So we're moving through the race. We're about to go to the halfway stage. And Alan Wilson, Jeff Wilkinson in 148, the lead man. And there's Brian Branson close behind him in second place in 254, so that's the first and second going through. Graham Blundell's behind them in third place in 156. So we've got a white top still leading, but it's a blue top up to second now, and a Starman in third place. There he is again, Wilkinson from Colne in Lancashire, race leader car 148, the white top man. There's Brian Branson, 254 going through. We're heading for the closing stages of this heat. They've got about 5 laps left to run, in fact. So time is running out for Starman Graham Blundell, 156. There he is, just going through with a large aerofoil, the red roof on the car, chasing down the home straight, back in third place. Top two are close together, and they should be going into the back straight now. And there they are.
Brian Branson seems to be losing it on the pit's bend every time. It looks, you know, Jeff Wilkinson could well get a well-merited win here, although you can see Brian Branson now closing right up. Whether we'll see the big heave-ho from Brian Branson, I don't know, Dave, but going to be an interesting last couple of laps.
And of course there is a back marker just in front of Jeff Wilkinson, which might cause Wilkie problems as he tries to get past him, and there he is, just sticking the back end out, and Branson might have taken advantage of that and shoved Wilkinson round, but he didn't. He's now aiming to find more acceleration down the inside line, and he goes through. So it's Branson the leader now in 254. There he is going through. Wilkinson got very little opportunity to fight back there in 148, and Branson is moving away in 254. Drifting it nicely around that turn. That's the pits turn, and back into the home straight. Now Mr. Starter is about to show them the lap boards. I think we've got just 3 laps to run. So Branson the leader. And that's the second and third now, Wilkinson. And there's Rob Pearce in trouble, 175. And that's down on the pits bend as the leaders head towards them. And I think Wilkinson in trouble down there. Now Wilkinson has gone. The white top who led for so long is in trouble and out, and Blundell moves through in 156. So there's Blundell going through up to second place now, car 156. And that's first and second as they go down that straight. Branson the leader. Martin, has Graham got enough time to close the gap?
No, Dave, he's a bit too far back here now. I think Brian's got it in the bag. I think this is coming up to this. Mr. Starter, Brian, will give him 1 lap to go. He's never going to catch him in a month of Sanders.
So Brian Branson looks to be clear and on his way to victory in this first heat before the World Final. Down the back straight he goes for the last time in the 254 car. Graham Blundell, Starman, running second. Graham from Preston, but he's not going to catch Brian Branson, I don't think. He's getting closer, but he's run out of laps. And down the home straight they go. And there is the checkered flag, and it's Brian Branson who wins it. Brian comes from Carnforth up in the north end of Lancashire. He's won the opening heats on World Final night in the 254 car, with Graham Blundell second behind him there in 156.
Bit of a shame, Dave, for white top Jeff Wilkinson. He led for most of the race. And there's the leader just gone into him, actually, just ploughed into him, Brian, a couple of laps earlier, and he could have well hung on to have taken a well-merited victory, but that's stock car racing.
Yes, and it's something we often see, in fact, white tops who lead for some time, but then run into trouble when the pressure comes on from the top men in the closing stages. So Jeff Wilkinson finishes parked up. And the winning driver then, Brian Branson in 2:54. Second place went to Graham Blundell in 1:56, and I think the man who finished third was Keith Riley in 3:23. The second and last of the warm-up races then, prior to the World Championship event itself, gets underway with the track lights now shining and just helping to add to the atmosphere in a very packed stadium tonight. Hopefully the track will not clog up quite so much in this one and cause problems for our cameraman as well as us here in the commentary position trying to identify them. A couple of the blues there, Jane Bean in 3:09, John Dowson 2:94. They're beginning to move forward and it looks as though they're away and racing. And there are the star men at the back of the grid, some more of the unlucky ones who didn't make it through to the world final. And Ray Torsley, I suppose, the most notable of those, Martin.
Yeah, that's true. You've got probably the greatest duck car race of all time in here, though, Stuart Smith in a borrowed car this evening, Dave. But yeah, Raymond, the only guy out of the top 6 that hasn't made it, and he was very well placed in the Long Eaton semi-final till a puncture put him out, Dave.
And quite a pile-up developing down on that pits turn as the low graders find things not going their way. And the low graders who did find their own way through there continue to move around. And we've lost one, that's Stuart Gledhill, I think, 387, who's turned around and bounces his way onto the middle. The blues going through, Ray Torsley leading the star men through.
Thinking in ensuing mayhem, Dave, you'll probably see 169 taking the lead.
So we think it's Andy Clark in the lead then in the 169 car. Ray Torsley motoring well as he goes through there.
With Charles Pickering in second place, I believe, Dave. Charles Pickering 2:14 will be in there. Charles a firm favourite at Belle Vue, known as Mr. Mayhem.
Yes, quite a bit of mayhem that Charlie's caused in the past here at Belle Vue. There he goes around that turn. Charles Pickering, but he's just being passed by one of the yellow tops. Dave Johnson in 3:83. And he's motoring very nicely around that turn. And there's Mr. Starter on the rostrum, signalling to the drivers as they thunder down the home straight in towards what used to be called the Funfair Bend back in the days when they had the Funfair here at Belle Vue. Oh, and a tangle down there on that bend, someone else going out. Stuart Smith there going very nicely in 139. And that's not the Stuart Smith that Martin was talking about. That's what they used to call Stuart Smith the Younger from Chesterfield in 139. But that's Kev Latham, 505, who's spun out on there. And Kev Latham's also been doing a bit of entertaining here at Belle Vue this season, causing problems for star men. Sparks fly there as one of the yellows comes over the top of the Jane Bean car. Jane spins out. Ray Torsley's club of the fence in 85. Mr. Beef and Jane Bean have come to grief on that turn. And Ray Torsley looks as though he might just possibly be stuck in the fence as the battles go on behind them. Ian Smith motoring nicely there in 367. He's up to star grade at the moment. And it's still Andy Clark who leads in 169. There he goes. Down the straight and around the turn.
On a big circuit like Belle Vue, Dave, a good white top, he can get a lead from the start. Take some catching, although, you know, it's invariably the big boys will catch him at some stage in the race, but they do take a lot of catching.
Well, there he goes through, and looks as though, in fact, Dave Johnson in 383 is through. We'll check him through next time round. So we do have a new leader. It's Dave Johnson in 383 who's taken the lead. Andy Clark is down to second in 169, and Stu Smith, the younger, is third in 139. We're at the halfway stage in this heat. It's 42 Alan Jackson going through. And there is the Union Jack, Mr. Starter, holding it out to tell them they're into the second half of this race. That's Rob Bransell, 265, spinning and causing problems. And that was Stuart Smith, I think, in car number 1, who went round the outside. And another couple in trouble up on that turn. There goes Stuart Smith, just through shot there in car number 1. In the borrowed car, he's racing tonight, 6 times world champion, but of course not qualified to race in this year's event.
I think the viewers would have seen the meaning of Charles Mr. Mayhem there as he went into the corner there, Dave. He hit the park car and then ploughed into Dave Miller as Dave was going through on the inside.
Yes, Charlie seems to have trouble keeping his steering wheel where it should be when he goes around the Belle Vue Bowl. And that's Stuart Gledhill. Well, we've seen him go around once or twice in this race, 387, so he obviously also has trouble keeping his steering wheel where it should be. And down the straight they go. That's the pit stone they're going around, back into the home straight.
I think you're going to have a change of lead here, Dave. You've got Dave Johnson with Alan Jackson right on his back bumper.
So there's the first and second. It's 383 and 42, and 169 is still there with them. And I think that's Rob Lane, who's arrived in 57, and they've got out. Second, third and fourth go out together in a heap, and that's left Dave Johnson in the lead. So 383, Dave Johnson was under pressure, but he's been left in the lead. And we're through the closing stages. They've got 3 laps to run. That's John Thorpe in 4.33. He must be moving up the places now, especially as we've had that Tangle taking 1 or 2 of them out. And it could be that John Thorpe is in second place.
Yeah, it's still Dave Johnson leading. Dave, he's got a good lead. Here he comes round. He's just coming into view. He looks with 2 to go. He looks in an invincible position at the present moment.
So Johnson the leader in car 383. That's Kev Latham in 505. White top driver who is struggling down at the bottom end at the moment. That looks like Johnson going through, and John Thorpe closing the gap there in 4.33 through some more of the parked cars, through down the home straight, and this looks like the last lap, I think. So through they go with Dave Johnson in 3.83 there, under pressure from John Thorpe in 4.33, and Thorpe almost getting through on the inside, so Johnson being forced to push that back marker white top Andy Clark out of his way as best he can. Someone gets airborne over those parked cars, and Johnson's in trouble. It looks as though Thorpe is through. So Thorpe goes through, and this is the last lap. That was the penultimate lap they were on, so it's John Thorpe who leads in 4.33. He's taken it off Dave Johnson just at the start of the last lap. And there they go, first and second. Thorpe the leader, Johnson second. He's fighting back Martin.
Yeah, he made a lot of ground up, John Thorpe, there over Dave. He looked invincible at one time, but as I say, John Thorpe pulled through a hell of a lot over the last couple of laps, and there it is, he's took the checkered flag.
So there is the flag, and Johnson wins it then. I beg your pardon, Thorpe wins it in 4.33 after catching Dave Johnson just at the start of the last lap. There he is, John Thorpe from Rotherham in South Yorkshire, the winner of Heat 2 in car 4.33. Blue top driver just making his way into the home straight on his slowing down lap. Dave Johnson was second in car 3.83.
Interesting point is it's the ex-Stuart Smith car that John Thorpe's out in tonight. Dave, it's won a few races here, but the hands of a different guy.
Yes, and we saw Stuart himself out in that one, but he didn't figure too highly in the chase for the checkered flag.
Right, and first one out the pits for the 1987 Brisca Formula 1 World Final is Frankie Wayman from Silsden of Yorkshire. Frankie, an ex-world champion way back in 1979. And Frankie lines up on the front row tonight. Frankie there in a brand new car for this evening, or it was a brand new car in the season which has been totally rebuilt after a collision at Bradford. And with also Frankie there with a new sign job and a new sponsor with looks from. As Frankie there collects his commemorative plaque from Steve Gill from the Daily Mirror. And the second on the grid, lining up outside Frankie, will be 260 Dave Beresford. Bezzy, who has never really gone well round Belle Vue and has tended never to go particularly well in World Finals. Dave only has one final victory ever in his career at Belle Vue, but Dave off the front row must be in with a chance this evening. This year's World Final must be one of the closest ever, with probably any one of the top 8 cars more than capable of taking the gold roof this evening. We'll see next out onto the grid, we'll see 53 John Lunds, who is the national points champion elect. John is one of the favourites for the trophy tonight, and a lot of people are tipping John to take both the gold and the silver roof this season. John excels on tarmac, but I think you'll see him go well on shell this evening, but I think he would prefer it being on tarmac. But John Lund from Clitheroe must be one of the favourites for this evening's big race. Following John, we have outside on the second row is a lot of people's favourites. He's been persistently tipped over the last 4 or 5 years for World Championship honours. Is 422 Nigel Wharton. It is rumoured with Nigel's car that it's probably the quickest car on the circuit tonight, but Nigel over the last 3 or 4 weeks has suffered some dreadful luck and form and will need a little bit of luck, I think, this evening to survive the early few laps. Wharton, if he does manage to get away, I think will really take some catching. One of the young men of the sport who still has a very bright future, and even if world honours don't come to him this year, there are plenty of opportunities left for Wharton. Third row inside comes the man that I think everybody fears this evening, is Lenny Wolfenden. Len, an ex-world champion from 1981 at Bradford. Len has come back out of retirement this year to race and has just basically raced at the big meetings. Len has the biggest incentive of anybody for victory tonight, with his sponsor at the present moment, Brendan Markey, promising him a brand new car for next season with a brand new engine should he become victorious this evening. Outside of Lenny Wolfenden is Bert Finucane. Bert tonight I know would dearly love the world final because it would give him the complete set of trophies. Bert is an ex-British champion, European champion, national points champion, and would dearly love the gold roof, I think, just as icing on the cake. A long time racing with Brisca and a real Belle Vue expert. Must be fancied tonight as one of the real front runners. Next we have one of the Dutch, our first of our foreign entrants, which is Rian Rutjens from Holland. Rian is in a borrowed car this evening, borrowing Malk Nichol's car, which must surely handicap Rian's chances, but he came back out of retirement this year in Holland and has already taken the world long track title and could well be the first man ever to take both world titles in the same year. The Dutch challenge over the last 2 or 3 years has increased, and surely we must see a Dutch winner one day. Coming into picture now is number 8, Friedhelm Welters, the second of the Dutch entrants tonight. Friedhelm is everybody's choice. If the title does go abroad this year, would be the man to take it. Last year at Coventry had probably his best chance ever of taking it, and at one stage was in second place and looked into being with a strong challenge on Peter Folding. But I think probably Friedhelm's lack of experience of UK racing probably cost him the gold roof last year, but will be a man to watch this evening. Row 5 we see Mo Smith from Aveley in Essex. Mo's done exceptionally well to get up onto the 5th row, and I think probably the best that Mo could ever hope for would be a top 6 placing, but you'll always see plenty of action from Mo. It's not his first world final, so the experience is not totally new to Mo, but will perhaps lack some of the power of some of the front runners, the likes of the Lunds and the Whartons. Alongside Mo, we see Mike Smith, another ex-world champion. Mike Close, beg your pardon, Mike Close 199. Mike, an ex-world champion, ex-national points champion, ex-European champion. It's rumoured it will be his last season this year. So it could be a big swan song for Mike Close if he does choose to retire at the end of this season. Always goes round the view. On the 7th row we have Bobby Burns. Big Bad Bobby, as he's known as. Bobby's not his first world final, but has never excelled and never shown his true form in a world final, so Burns will be hoping this evening that at least he can produce some of his true form that everybody knows. More than capable of winning, just if he can cure his own problems, which seem to be nerves on world final night. Alongside Bobby Burns, we will see the New Zealand style car of Chris Elwell. Chris actually took his first final victory a couple of weeks ago in his short and checkered career. Chris actually won a world title in New Zealand this year when he won the 240 cubic inch world final. Chris there probably the most improved racer of the year this year, and must surely be in with a chance. His car is absolutely immaculate. Next we see Paul Harrison, the youngest of this year's world final and son of ex-world champion Willie Harrison. Paul, I think, will find the going a bit strong tonight, but it's going to be a good experience for the lad because he must surely follow in his father's footsteps, and surely a gold roof will come his way one day. Paul just celebrated his 18th birthday recently and must be the youngest man in the world final this evening. Alongside Paul we have 317 Nigel Hardy from Huddersfield in Yorkshire. Again, Nigel, known as the hard man to pass, refuses to move for anybody. Nigel in the last world final at Belle Vue many people thought he handed the title to Stuart Smith on a plate by balking Len Wolfenden, but we'll be there or thereabouts in the end. Next we have a man with little UK experience, again from over the channel, from Holland, is Chris Hough. Chris, I believe, will be his first time ever racing at Belle Vue, and again, he won't be short of power because he's in an ex-Friedhelm Welters car, but may find that the going becomes a little bit strong for him. Outside Chris Hough is Pete Kaiser, another one of our Dutch visitors tonight. Pete, no stranger to the UK scene, will more than be capable of taking the title on sheer power, but it's whether he can power past 11 or 12 top-class guys in front of him. Following the two Dutch guys, we will see out number 2, Willie Harrison. Willie will be behind Chris Hough, and Willie, an ex-world champion. And here emerges Willie, an ex-world champion. Willie actually won his world title at Belle Vue Stadium 6 years ago. One of the veterans of stock car racing, and has been racing, this is his 35th running of the world final, although Willie hasn't competed in the 35, he has actually been racing in the 35 years that the world final has been running. Again, will not lack power, will not lack for experience on the big night, but maybe a little bit far down the field, I think, to make any real impression on the racing this evening. Next comes 412 Dave Tapping in his second world final. Dave, one of the nice men of the sport. Again, the best he could ever hope for would be a first 3 placing. But Dave, we know, has had a lot of work over the last 2 weeks after virtually writing his car off within the last couple of weeks. And it's been a lot of hard work by Dave and his mechanics to get that car out onto the track for the big night this evening. Next we have Mike Shirley from Meriden in Warwickshire. Mike in his first world final. It's taken Mike 11 years to reach this stage. So Mike's going to enjoy the evening. He says himself all he can ever hope for is a top 6 place, but he's just out there to enjoy the occasion this evening and just take and savour the atmosphere. Alongside Mike, we have another first-timer in a Formula 1 World Final, although Mark Taylor from back up in Lancashire, beg your pardon. Although for Mark, it's not a new experience of World Final. He has actually competed in a Formula 2 World Final, but it's his first one in the big league of Formula 1 racing. Mark is another guy that's rumoured will retire at the end of this season, which would be a real pity because he's come on leaps and bounds this season. Next we have in the northeast, we have the northeast only representative in the race. We have from Aycliffe, County Durham, Joe Jopling. Joe, there you see Jester Joe on the back of his car. Has been round for many, many years, hit the high spots, attained star grade once or twice, and has dropped back down. Joe, again, his hopes of victory must be slim. Next we have Danny Clark, the innovator of many, many different bodied cars. Danny, in his best ever finish was 1983 when he actually had a second place at Coventry. I think Danny would be absolutely delighted to get a similar result this evening. Danny, renowned for his innovative design on cars, and always turns out a smart car, but a smart car maybe won't be enough for him to get him on the victory rostrum this evening. Next we have another one, the Dutchman, number 77, Chris Bimmel. His first appearance in the UK, and I think from his position in the grid, probably be lucky even to last the course. Another guy that's going to enjoy the experience, but may find it a little bit strong for his first time ever in the UK. Next we have number 7 from Holland, Matt de la Roy. Matt, again, little experience in the UK, believe it's his second time over this year, but it's only his first time on shale in the UK. Again, we'll find the going tough, but with the increase in Dutch drivers and the increased standard of Dutch drivers, could well surprise 1 or 2 people and finish farther up than would be expected. Next we have Mr. Snoopy, as he's well known, Rob Cowley with the Snoopy on his car. Rob, very unusual occupation for a stock car driver, he's a ladies' hairdresser. Not his first world final, it's his second world final, and coincidentally his previous world final was also at Belle Vue. Rob didn't finish that, and talking to Rob prior to the race, Rob's just going to be happy to finish tonight, preferably in the top 6 place. Alongside Rob will be 98, a near neighbour actually of Rob, Les Spencer. Les Spencer's first world final, which makes this one of 4 guys, British guys on the grid with their first ever world final. Les again, perhaps a bit too far down the grid to make any real impression on the racing, but again he's going to be able to save the atmosphere, and his main priority I think is going to be to finish. Next we have the man Leon Cox, no stranger to the shores of the UK. Leon's made many appearances in the UK, and I believe it's probably his 4th or his 5th world final appearance. Leon actually was the guy that caused the big pile-up in the 1986 world final at Coventry. There we have another 73, only this time it's the Dutch 73, Koos Peters. Koos again, no stranger to UK racing, and definitely no stranger to shale. A little bit too far down the grid to make any real impression on the racing, but guarantee we'll give it all. Next on the grid is deposed world champion Peter Folding. Peter unfortunately failed to qualify from the semi-finals, but under Brisca rules is allowed to take his place at the back of the grid. But I think to go through a field of this quality would be asking a little bit too much, and I think that we shall definitely see a new gold roof this season. The last of the world finalists coming out is from New Zealand, our visitor to New Zealand, Warren McIntyre. Warren only arrived in the UK yesterday, had very little chance of practice. The car he's driving this evening, I don't believe he's had the chance to even have any practice, so it's going to be a lot to ask for Warren to actually get up with the pace, but he's definitely no stranger to the UK. Probably his 3rd or 4th world final. As the build-up comes now, the cars will be gridded onto the back straight, and in the very next few minutes we will see the 1987 Brisca World Final underway. With 2 rolling laps, we look to be in for a real treat of stock car racing. The cars still make their way around the top bend. There we see another one of the Dutch guys.
Well, this is the moment everyone has been waiting for. The cars are just about to start rolling. They will do just over 1 rolling lap. And when Mr. Starter is satisfied they've held their positions, he'll give them the green, and 30 Formula 1 stock cars will hurtle down towards that first turn, chasing the world title. Well, Martin, endless possibilities, but in the few moments before they get cracking, who do you fancy to win the world title?
Well, I put 10 names in a bag actually, Dave, and I've come out with Bert Finicum. But it really is that close, Dave. I just don't really know. It's how it goes on the first couple of laps. There's so many permutations, as you said. There's so many good drivers at the front of that grid. And as they go, if the first 2 guys get away, they might never be caught, but with the calibre of drivers behind them, who's to know, Dave? It really is. It's built up, I think, it's the closest world final for a long time. As long as I can ever remember, there isn't a firm favourite in it, Dave.
So what is inevitably the slowest rolling lap of the whole season gets underway, and without contradicting Martin, no favourites, he said. Well, that is perfectly true, but of course we do look towards the front end of the grid for the likely winner, because the men at the back have got an awful lot of work to do. And it's a little unfortunate that Peter Folding has come good in the last few weeks when it's too late to qualify for a place at the front end of the grid. He has to defend his title from the back. He might well have been fancied to hang on to that title with his recent form, Martin, if he'd been nearer the front.
Yeah, that's true, but I tell you what, Dave, there's 30 guys out there, and they're that tense, and they're itching to just bottom their right foot and get that accelerator hard down. That's got to be the hardest thing to do, to keep such a slow pace, Dave, because it's really, I think the butterflies have really got to be going. The stomach's really twitching, because it means so much to all these guys to come out of this as the world champion, Dave.
Well, of course, it also means a lot to the crews who work so very hard behind the scenes, and it's a credit to the crews who work on those cars that they are so immaculately turned out tonight. A light shining on the paintwork. Much of that paintwork will have been polished, believe it or not, and drivers really proud to turn their cars out well on World Final night. Well, past world champions in the field, Frankie Wainman in 212. Back in 1979, Frankie won it. So we've got Len Wolfenden in 190, Willie Harrison number 2. 33, of course, the defending title holder, Peter Fording. Mike Close, 199. And amongst the overseas drivers, well, Ryan Richards and Friedan Welters have done reasonably well for themselves in the World Long Track Championship in past years as well. So there's, when you add in the European, the British and the various other titles, there must be quite a few championships amongst those men on the track. That's the back row of the grid. Peter Fording and Warren McIntyre from New Zealand side by side.
Peter, of course, won't be a stranger to Warren McIntyre, Dave, as he spent the winter over there last year racing. Had a month out there. Was it 6 weeks, I believe, Dave? Month, 6 weeks?
Yes, it was knocking on for 6 weeks that the British party was down under last winter, and great time was had by all. Apparently plans are afoot to return for 1 or 2 of them this winter. So there is Brian Beat on the rostrum then, and this is the moment where he takes control of them.
Going back to your starter, Dave, he's becoming quite a fixture at World Finals now. I believe it's something like his 9th or his 10th World Final he's officiated in, Dave, and becoming, you know, rooted to the spot, I think, World Finals.
Yes,
wouldn't be a World Final, I think, without Brian Beat.
Probably the most respected starter in the business, and he's been around a year or 2. So the cars are just about midway down the back straight now on this rolling lap.
The brakes,
cameras popping everywhere.
The brakes can be all important, Dave. I think that for the first couple of bends, if somebody can get away, they've got to be in with a chance, but who can tell? You could get the biggest pileup of all time.
Well, Frankie Wainman might need reminding that he rolled his on the first bend in the World Final only 2 years ago. It looks as though again this time they are. This is it. The World Final is underway. Who's going to make the break to the first turn? It's Beresford who gets the break. Oh, Beresford has almost gone around there as Wainman follows him through. Someone's in trouble down there. I think that was Ryan Richards who might have spun. But into the back straight they go. And that's one of the Dutchmen, 77, who's gone out there. That's Chris Bimmel, and there's a tangle at the back end of the grid. And it looks as though John Lund is making a break. We've got 15 Ryan Richards certainly out of the race along with Keir Peters, and it's John Lund who leads from Frankie Wainman and Dave Beresford. Nigel Wharton is 4th as they go through. And there you are, and John Lund is really motoring, coming through very nicely there in 53. Wainman 2nd in 212, Beresford 3rd in 260.
John's got a real fly, Dave. He could, the way he's going around there, the way he's pulled over that first couple of laps, he could take some catching at this early stage in the race.
Well, yes, he's really motoring, and of course it's back markers that can cause the problems for the leaders. Well, if you've got a buffer like that between you and the second place man as you hit those back markers, then that's very useful indeed. And as I say that, he's already up with the back markers, and that's the first of them being pushed around there, Warren McIntyre. And Wainman has closed a little bit there as Lund just had a problem getting past Warren McIntyre. But now Wainman has to try and do the same, or again Lund pulls away. That's Lund in the lead in 53. Round they come with Wainman 2nd in 212, Beresford 3rd, Nigel Wharton in 4th place. So there they go again. It's Lund from Wainman and Beresford, and then we've got Wharton, and then Wolfenden and Finnegan, and that looks like the top 6, and Friedan Welters there with them in 7th, I think. So he looks like the best of the overseas drivers at the moment. And that battle between Beresford and Wainman is allowing John Lund just to slip away from them. He's disappearing away into the distance, in the traffic there, off the back markers. And there he goes. Oh, and there's somebody getting airborne down there, sparks flying.
One of the Dutchmen, actually.
And there's John Lund fighting his way through the traffic. One of the Dutch drivers there slowing down by the fence. Lund 53, Wainman 212.
David, I don't know whether that's Mike Close, whether he's come through or whether he's caught out in an earlier incident.
Well, if Mike Close has come through, he's doing tremendously well, and Bobby Burns has gone. 471 Bobby Burns. I think that's McIntyre he's tangled out with, but Burns certainly out of the running. Even if he gets back on track, he's certainly not going to get back with the top men. It is indeed Warren McIntyre who's tangled out with Bobby Burns. It's a long way to come from New Zealand to Great Britain to sit on the infield watching the rest of them go by. 51 Mo Smith, he's pushed across the middle there. So Lund the leader, Wayman second.
There's a lot of traffic out
coming through.
There's a lot of traffic out there, Dave, and Lund, the way he's going through this field, it's unbelievable because he's making it look so easy at the present moment.
Well, it looks as though he's now threatening to lap Willie Harrison, number 2, who won the world title himself here at this track only 5 years ago. Lund trying to get past him. And there he is, just pushing along behind Willie Harrison. Mr. Starter signals the positions to the drivers as they go through down the home straight. So Lund the leader, he's leading the National Points Championship. He's well on his way to the double if he gets this one. Tangle on the home straight, somebody backing off onto the middle and out of the way. There's Willie Harrison getting the bumper treatment from John Lund. He can't afford to waste any longer, and he gives him a nudge. And it could well be that Mike Close has moved up into 3rd place there in 199. We certainly didn't see him go out earlier on, and if he didn't, well, that means he's motoring through very nicely, Martin.
Yeah, he's a Belle Vue specialist, Mike is. And it wouldn't surprise me. As I say, we didn't see when he did go out, but if he is there, he's got to be in with a shout. But the way John Lund's going away, really, I can only see one winner. I know it's early in the race day, but it looks all over by the shouting even at this stage.
Well, Wayman certainly not giving up. That's Mike Shirley in trouble in 395, about to be lapped by the 2nd place man, already been lapped by the leader as a shadow sparks as he clobbers the fence. So Wayman trying his best to push Willie Harrison out of the way. Dave Beresford there, Nigel Wharton goes through, and then Len Wolford further on down the line. So we have every reason to believe that Mike Close is with them in the positions there, and when he's running 3rd. So that's the halfway stage in this 25-lap World Final. Well, if Mike Close was 3rd, he's under threat now from that position because Dave Beresford has gone through, and so has Nigel Wharton, I think. Well, there's John Lund. In front of him on track is Nigel Hardy, 317. He looks likely to be lapped any moment now. 53, still the leader there, John Lund. Bobby Burns in 471, of course, is a lap down, but he's back on track, and Bobby Burns is renowned for his use of the bumper, particularly on drivers that he thinks should or should not win. He could quite easily oversay the outcome of this one.
Yeah, Bobby won't worry whether he's leading or whether he's not, Dave. He'll just hit him if he gets half a chance.
So there's Lund still in the lead in 53. And it looks as though back down track it's Frankie Wayman who's second in 212. We saw Dave Beresford regain 3rd place from Mike Close in the 260 car. And Nigel Wharton, I think, went through as well. We're checking through this time. There's Lund the leader. There's Wayman going through in 2nd. Behind him it's Beresford 3rd, Wharton 4, Mike Close down to 5th. Behind them came Len Wolford and then Bert Finnegan. And I think Freedown Walters was still there. That's the top half dozen at least. And not too many dramas amongst the leading lights at the moment.
We just caught off on the side of there, Dave. You see Wharton's now starting to move through. He's had a go at Beresford. You may even see him go. No, he hasn't. He was having a little bit of his back bump coming out of that pits bend.
So Nigel Wharton moving through. Well, of course, we're well in the 2nd half, and there might be changes and battles for the minor places. But what is anyone going to do about John Lund? Because he's a long way clear. There's Lund in the home straight. Wayman going through 2nd there, the silver-coloured car. That's Lund, 53 the leader.
He's got the added advantage, Dave, now. He's even got a clear track in front of him.
So there we're looking for John Lund, and there he goes in 53. 2 cars and quite a few yards between the 1st and 2nd. That's Wayman in 2nd. He's got back markers in front of him. They are Bobby Burns and Nigel Hardy. And we're heading for the closing stages. There are just about 5 laps left to run. And it's beginning to look as though John Lund is on his way. Wayman in 2nd. Beresford and Wharton come next, and then it looked like Bert Finnegan going through nicely. Some of the minor place drivers further on down the line. Peter Fording still going in 33 from the back of the grid, of course. And the lead man comes through again, and that's another lap completed for him. The number 53 car on his way. That's the back straight he's going down, and the traffic has thinned out considerably. He's just got to keep his cool and hang on, because we're going through the closing stages. He's heading for the gold roof.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Dave, you said it, as long as he doesn't do anything silly, he's home and dry.
So John Lund moves down the home straight again. It's the chase on for all the minor places. And that's it, 2 laps to run. So Lund is through, Wayman goes through second. Around the turn into the back straight he goes. He's a lap and a half away from the world title. Some of the others, and Nigel Wharton that looks to be. Wharton has gone in 4:22. Now Wayman has gone through. That's 53, John Lund. He's on his last. He's down the back straight for the last time. He's heading for the pits turn. And the man from Clitheroe in Lancashire looks as though he's going to win the world title. Back into the home straight he comes. He's done it. 53, John Lund wins the world title. Frankie Wayman comes home in second place. And Dave Beresford through there. Bert Finnegan had gone through. That's John Lund we're looking at. He's the man who's won the world title in car number 53.
Dave, a popular champion he's going to be, because I don't think there's many people that dislike John. And I think, you know, there'll be a few glasses race with him in Clitheroe this evening and probably the rest of next week. But a popular winner.
So, tremendous drive there by John Lund, never seriously threatened throughout the race. The winner of the 1987 Formula 1 World Final, car number 53. Frankie Wayman was second in 2:12. Dave Beresford was third in 2:60. And we'll confirm the other positions, and we'll see if we can have a word with John Lund in just a moment or two. There he is, pulling up down at the start-finish line.
Well, there we have John Lund on the start and finish line with many of his supporters. They're going to mob him. But I think it really showed, John really showed his class there in a full field of 30 cars. Yeah, he looks a happy man. He looks a happy man now. There you can see with his team of mechanics round. His wife down there with him as well. Yes, John already taken the British title this year. He's the national points champion elect, and with the world championship added in on top, that's really is the icing on the cake for this man from Clitheroe. Such a likeable guy, both on and off the track. Dave Edwards has vanished out of the van to try and find winner John Lund, so hopefully in a few seconds over to Dave Edwards.
Well, here is the man who has just won the Formula 1 world title. He's holding the trophy, as you can see. It's a trophy with a lot of names on it. It's got a lot of stock car racing history, and here is John Lund. John, did you ever think you'd get your name on that trophy?
No, never in this world. I can't believe it now. I have to get looking at it.
Well, how many years have you been racing?
I've been racing now for 11 years, and the best I've ever done previously to this was third in the world final. I thought I'd done really well then to get that, but winning it, it's just unbelievable.
Well, it looked as though it was quite an easy win from where we were sitting, although there was a lot of swapping of places going on behind you. Were you ever troubled at all during the race?
Not really from anybody behind me. I had a few tense moments when I caught up with slower cars. I think I just had the right tyres on at the start of the race. It was a bit greasy. I just got away at the start and got clear, and it went well.
Had you any idea of the positional changes going on behind you, or weren't you that interested?
I wasn't really that bothered, but I did see one or two cars going out as I went round. I think I saw Len Wolferden's car out at one stage and Mike Close, but I was more concerned about finding my way through and keeping going.
Well, I know there's going to be some celebrations with the crew tonight, but I understand you're about to have a celebration of another type.
That's true. My wife is expecting a baby. It was due last Monday, but we're still waiting. perhaps when she gets tonight's news, it might speed things up a bit.
And this will be your second, I understand.
That's right, yeah. This baby was actually due on our little boy's 3rd birthday, but it hasn't happened yet.
Well, that's a nice addition to the celebrations then and the trophies. So you're out again tomorrow, I understand,
yep.
at Northampton.
Yep. I'm hoping to be providing I'm to go in with a wife, with a baby, you know. I think if she goes in tomorrow to have the baby, I'd have to go with her, really.
Yeah, well, one would have thought you'd had enough excitement for one weekend. One other thing, of course, you're heading for the National Points Championship at the moment, which would indicate gold roof and silver stripes on the 53 car next season.
Well, it's looking that way at the moment, providing nothing disastrous happens. There's a good chance.
Well, you've done remarkably well tonight. It looked very easy at the front there. I don't suppose it was sitting in the cab, but you made it look very easy while everything was going on behind you. So many congratulations, 1987 World Champion John Lund.
Thank you very much.
So thanks very much to John Lund, and thanks very much to all the stock car drivers who entertained us tonight on the World Championship night at Belle Vue Stadium, Manchester. We hope you've enjoyed yourselves. Been a great night stock car racing. From me, Dave Edwards, good night to you.